Welcome to Solo Leveling. Okay, so this is going to be a long ass anime video if I don't break down the information. So as usual, I'm going to explain most of the information to the holy whiteboard of knowledge. So to summarize this anime, a monster portal randomly opened on Earth, which causes the monsters to get isekai'd here. And there are also dungeons which players can farm or loot some items, kinda like your basic RPGs like Warcraft. Because of this, special people obtain some kind of powers, because they have the power of God and anime on their side, and they are called hunters. And instead of having hunter cards, they're ranked from S tier, which means strong tier, to E tier, which means egg tier. I mean, you've seen tier lists. That's their ranking system, and every hunter has an awakening which determines their power level, and their power levels can't get stronger even through training, except for our boy Sang Jinwoo, your average virgin twat, and he's the weakest hunter in the world, and having the nickname the weakest hunter of all mankind. Or you can just summarize it for noob basically. And the reason he became a hunter, it's because his dad buys some milk and never came back. His mom is a vegetable, and he needs to support his sister's education. He's the only character I'll introduce because season 1 focuses more on his story, and the other characters are not really doing anything significant as far as I know. If you have any problems with it, be sure to subscribe and comment your opinions. But it's my video, so I can do whatever I want. Now let's continue. The anime opens up with this battleship surrounding this island, where they rely on the hunters fighting these giant ants. I'm lost! We jump to 3 years later, where we see the twat being known in his squad as the noob, and this bitch gets concerned about his health, but he says fuck off and they go into this dungeon. He gets twatted by a level 1 goblin and gets his period for the first time. Their squad cleared the dungeon and he gets healed by the bitch, and she tells her to be careful because he's going to get pregnant if he doesn't use any protection. Their squad leader found another dungeon, and he makes all of them vote if they'll continue or not, and the twat gets the last vote and he voted yes.
Democracy is the worst!
They find this dungeon where Bossman here reads this ancient scripture which says revere God, praise God, and prove your faith to God. If you don't follow these 3 commandments, you ain't getting out of this dungeon, because this is like a PDD party. Once you get in, you'll be covered in baby oil.
Oh hell no!
They got trapped and the bitch told him that she noticed the statue looking at her. This guy tries to leave, but he got decapitated by the stone statues, and they all start to panic.
I'm in danger!
This fast pass tries to escape, but he got lasered. Jinwoo used his big brain by following the first rule, and he bowed his head to praise the statue, and everyone followed him. The statue starts moving where this can't praise, but he got stepped on like a turd. Jinwoo used his big brain again and told everyone to run to the statues that has instruments. He and the bitch ran at this statue, but it didn't play Despacito because it wouldn't work with 2 people in it. He runs to the other statue and he almost died, and he lost his leg.
I can't feel my leg!
The statue sits back onto its gaming chair and the sacrifice altar pops up, and he tells everyone that someone needs to get sacrificed, like how Abraham sacrificed his son Isaac in the Bible. They step onto the altar one by one, and a red flame ignites around them, with a blue flame on the outside. The statue starts moving and everyone pushed out and escaped. Then Willem Dafoe said that he'll sacrifice himself because of his incompetence, because he's a Ferrari fan and he fucked up his strategy, kinda like the 2025 Australia Grand Prix. But the host leg gave out and Jinwoo told him to carry the bitch, and he'll replace Willem Dafoe as the sacrifice. Willem Dafoe knocks the bitch and they leave. The statue gangbangs him and he monologues to himself that the world is selfish and everyone's the same. He got sacrificed and this secret quest menu pops up, and he chooses to accept it right before it's self-destructed, kinda like Mission Impossible.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it, this message will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
He wakes up in the hospital where he didn't lose any limbs. Then the men in black came in to discuss something with him, and they introduced themselves as the Hunter Watchers. They told him that most of the survivors in his party retired because of trauma, and there were no traces of the second dungeon after they found him, which is kinda sus, and they also tell him that he might have experienced a second awakening, and he might be Jesus Christ, the savior of mankind. He tested his power level on this crystal ball to determine if he really experienced a second awakening, but his power levels is just 10, which makes him a civilian.
Such a noob.
And the men in black leaves. He sees this daily Saitama training regimen quest by doing
100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, and 100 squats, then a 10-kilometer run!
and there's consequences when you fail the quest, like going bald for example.
Do it every single day!
He ignored the quest and we cut to a few hours where the quest expired and he got isekai'd into the dune sands. And he gets chased by the giant monster in Dune and he needs to survive for 4 hours. The time runs out and he gets back into his room. We cut to a few days where the healer bitch visited the twat in the hospital and she sees him doing his daily training regimen. Some Sigma male motivation montage happens where he puts all of his skill points into strength. Dude, put some points into agility, dexterity, perception, and intelligence. You're not a Fallout character, you know. By the end of the day, you're gonna be Korean Ronnie Coleman with too much strength. Anyway, we skip the training montage, where he received this mysterious key as a reward that can open any dungeons. He used the key to raid this dungeon and he gets gangbanged by some goblins, but he beats them with his Ronnie Coleman strength. Then this wolf attacks him for the second round. He pulls a sword from his floating inventory and he managed to beat 34 wolves. And he also managed to loot 34 fangs, which can be sold for 20 gold each. And killing some monsters gains some XP, and he's leveling fast as fuck.
I'm fast as fuck, boy!
Meanwhile, the healer bitch receives a call from her guild, and they need her ASAP because of the lack of healers. Because they need to close this portal before it causes trouble, and she accepts the party invitation. We cut back to MC Twat and he keeps grinding and is now currently level 15.
Number 15.
He heads deeper into the dungeon to fight this snake boss. Then with some rocky motivation, he beats the giant snake with his bare hands. Wait, that sounded way too gay.
You are gay.
Anyway, he received these dropped items, which is a dagger and a poison, and he gets teleported back to the real world. As he leaves the train station, he stumbles onto this soldier, and he leads him to the hunters fighting the rock. He gains a perception ability and he can scan any hot milfs in this area. He sees the situation where mostly low-rank hunters are fighting this boss, and he sees the healer bitch, still having PTSD about the dungeon incident. He throws his broken sword onto the rock and he smelled what's cooking, which broke its barrier, and the noobs finish the rock off, and he leaves the scene kinda like Saitama, and the healer bitch noticed it was him. A few days pass by and he gets discharged from the hospital. In order to pay their rent, he joins this party as their bag carrier, and he gets sus about this party because they don't have any healer. He signed the waiver and they raided this dungeon. Jinwoo used his Ultra Instinct and they got ambushed by some insect monsters. They fight back and Jinwoo analyzed their team coordination, and he commended their fighting style even without a healer because this guy can use Rasengan. They wipe out the enemies and started looting. Bossman here thanked him for his help, and the party noticed an unusual attack. Then Jinwoo tells the skin buyer to be careful about the party. They continue onto the boss room and they saw a field of mana crystals that can be sold for a high price. Then the noob read Jinwoo's contract, which states that he can have a share because this isn't a drop item. Bossman agrees, but he seems told him that he forgot something, and he told the pair that they should wait here to be a lookout until they come back.
It's a trap!
They destroy the entrance, and Jinwoo gets a flashback where Willem Dafoe told him that there are douchebags in this line of work and he needs to be careful. The spider boss wakes up and Jinwoo told the noob to get out of his way because he'll beat it alone vigorously while maintaining eye contact.
Why are you gay?
He starts attacking the boss, but he's having a hard time because of its tough foreskin. The noob saw his movements and guessed that he might have faked his E-rank status. Jinwoo tries to be fast as fuck, but his fatigue goes up and he got smacked. But he uses full recovery and stabbed the spider right in the eye, and he beats it by stacking the paralyzed debuff. The noob becomes a simp and starts mining the crystals. The douchebag again comes back and they saw the pair still alive. Then Bossman ordered the noob to kill Jinwoo, but he refused.
You don't want to mess with me. Look at my muscles.
Then femboy douchebag blasted him with his Rasengan. As he was down, this bonus quest shows up and he needs to kill the douchebags ASAP, and there will be consequences if he doesn't. He goes Jeffrey Dahmer Ultra Instinct mode and decapitated all the douchebags. Then he realizes that the system isn't going to let him die that easily, and he took advantage to get revenge. They get out of the dungeon and this reporter bitch commends them for doing a good job on closing a dungeon despite being low ranks. We cut to a few days where the noob meets up with him and he owes him for saving his life. The noob invites him into his party so that he can be a guild master, and he needs to complete 20 raids to be eligible. He also says that his father wants to run a guild business, and maybe they can recruit an S-rank hunter in the future to be the face of their guild and make some more money.
Hello! I like money!
He offered him $30 billion to join, but he politely refused because he ain't a money-hungry politician. Jinwoo does his daily training regimen, where he noticed that he can double his exercise count before he can turn it in. He doubled his daily training regimen and he gets rewarded, and it's an S-rank dungeon key, where the reward is the elixir of life, and he might cure his mom's AIDS with this, and he used the key to open the dungeon. He starts fighting Cerberus, but he got smacked like a bag of chips. He managed to hide and use some potions to recover, but he got discovered right away and he was about to die with 100 HP left. But with the Sigma Male Ultra Instinct, he managed to cock Cerberus in the eye and win. He completed the first quest and unlocked the second part, where he needs to find 3 items inside the burning castle in order to craft the elixir. He meets up with the noob again and he accepts his recruitment, with a condition that it will only be the 2 of them, but they need 8 people in order to raid the dungeon, and the noob tells him that his dad's company can handle the recruitment. He received a text message from the association, where they need to gather hunters for a D-ranked dungeon. We then see Hugh Jackman here talking to Midorima from Kuroko's basketball, because he decided to be a hunter after failing to become an NBA player.
だから俺のシュートまだか
And Midorima told him that he's slowly making an alliance with other organizations so that he can go back on that cursed island seen in episode 1 where they lost the battle and he wants his revenge by clearing the island. Jinwoo meets up with the other hunters and saw his old squad from episode 1 gathered for this dungeon raid. Then these 3 notorious serial killers from Green Mile will join them, and they are Jeffrey Dahmer, Richard Ramirez, and John Wayne Gacy, and they will be accompanied by Megumi from Jujutsu Kaisen, who is a B-rank hunter. Then Willem Dafoe here volunteered to be their party leader so that he can atone for his sins in their last raid, and they all agreed. They raid the dungeon and they easily wipe the monsters. Then Willem Dafoe noticed that Jinwoo got stronger because he can sense his aura, kinda like Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. They split up into 3 groups with these 3 tunnels. We then see a flashback of Megumi where he received a bribe from this rich person, and he wants him to kill these 3 prisoners who raped his daughter. As he kills them, Fatas and Old Guy saw him, and Megumi decides to wipe them all with no witnesses.
Remember, no Russian.
Jinwoo heard them scream and they headed straight for them. Healer Bitch tries to save the old guy but he's near death's door, and he apologized to Jinwoo for being a pussy and left him to die on that day. Megumi tries a surprise attack on the healer but Jinwoo noticed him. Then Megumi says, "This was supposed to be a perfect assassination where even Conan wouldn't solve it, and I was supposed to go back alone and tell the association that you guys were too noobs to keep up with me, where y'all got killed by some pathetic goblins." Then Willem Dafoe steps in to fight Megumi, but he got cocked because he's fast as fuck boy. Megumi was about to finish him off but he used fire attack to catch him off guard, but it didn't work. Then Jinwoo swoops in to block his attack. Megumi deduced that he got reborn. Then Willem Dafoe and the bitch got shocked about this info. The pair continued to fight. Then Jinwoo gains another side quest to kill Megumi, and he used his Jeffrey Dahmer killer instinct again to fear Megumi, and it worked. Then he pegged him right in the chest and win.
Easy job, didn't even have to waste anything.
He tells the pair to get the fuck out and wait outside while he solo kills the boss. As they head out, they got interviewed by Leonardo DiCaprio here, and they tell him that Megumi tried to kill them, and Willem Dafoe tells Leo that he's the one who killed him with the help of the healer bitch, and they managed to kill a B-rank hunter for self-defense. Leo apologized for the issue and he leaves. Willem Dafoe tells Jinwoo that think of this as his repayment for what he did on that day, where he left him to die. Then we see the healer bitch meeting with Jinwoo where she asked him on a date. She got surprised of his big dick aura. Then she returned the crystal he gave to her because she's now retiring from being a hunter.
You are it, Dad.
And she'll go back to live with her parents in the mountains. He meets up with the noob along with his noobs to raid a C-rank dungeon, and the noob told the noobs to wait outside the gate while they clear the dungeon, and the noob will pay them 3 million won per dungeon. Fuck, I would love to have this job, man. This job is way better than being a streamer, YouTuber, or having an OnlyFans. Getting paid 3 million for doing nothing is a bargain. Anyway, we see a montage of the pair clearing every dungeon they enter, and Jinwoo continues to level up. As he hits the level cap, this random quest pops up. We then see these scouts scouting the gang on their dungeon raid, where the classmate of Jinwoo's sister told them to get the fuck out. The scouts leaves because of her Karen aura. Then the pair finished their raid, and Jinwoo tells the noob to cancel their raid for tomorrow so that he can secretly go on this quest. As he goes home, the scout invites him on an interview where he told him to join their guild and he'll double the pay whatever the noob is paying him, but he declined because they can't afford 60 billion won to pay him. He threatened to kill him if he speaks to the media about him. Jinwoo offered him a deal to buy 3 of their dungeons so that they can also earn some money, where he agreed. And the next day comes where the scout got scammed because the stock market exchange goes down, and Jinwoo texted him that this is a payback for spying on him, and he goes on to his new quest. He entered the dungeon and started fighting these knights, archers, and mages. He cleared the first stage and some armor drops, and he equipped it to boost his defensive stats. He entered the throne room and sees this red boss knight named Igris, and he starts fighting him, where he resorted to his bare hands because he can pierce through the armor. Meanwhile, the Justice League, composed of S-rank hunters, are gathered to have their revenge tour in the cursed island, led by Midorima, where he thanks their boss Arnold for approving this mission.
Hasta la vista, baby.
We cut to the boxing match between Jinwoo and the Red Knight, where he got plummeted into the ground because he can't match his speed and power. He was about to get pegged, but he remembered Andrew Tate's Sigma Male grind set, where he caught the Knight off guard and penetrated him with his small dildo dagger. And he won the match. It dropped some items and he equipped this helmet to boost his stats. And this warning quest shows up where it showed a timer and told him to survive as long as he can with this mob of enemies. He tried fighting them, but he got hit twice, and he loses his teleport crystal, which is his only way out of this dungeon. He got gangbanged by the mobs and his imposter syndrome starts kicking in, and he was about to die, but luckily he was sent to penalty heaven in the Dune Sands for not doing his daily training regimen. He killed the Dune monsters and he was able to recover. He buys another dagger which can pierce through armor, and he used the skill crystal and he can now use the force. As the timer ends, he gets sent back to the throne room where he's ready to take some knight dicks again. He noticed the mages summoning some more knights, and he starts using the force against them, and he managed to reduce the number of knights getting summoned. This big dick golem golem appears, and he killed the mages first and smacked the big dick golem. After finishing the quest, more rewards starts popping in, and this cryptic message shows up where he is forced to change his class into a necromancer, where he can summon some BTS army which will help him on his solo dungeon raids, and he changed his class. But more class points keeps coming left and right, which surpassed the class point threshold of the class, and he got upgraded into a shadow monarch, and he called his summoning skill Arise.
Say the line, Bart.
Arise.
He summoned the ghost of the knights including Igris, where he used some political bullshit lines to convince them to vote on him on being their new king, and he managed to capture their souls. And that's the end of season 1. This anime gets an I Don't Want to Walk on This Earth by Iyaz.
Rise up! Come on!